Welcome to Frights Delights with me, Dark Morte. I'm on location at Minsden Chapel in Hertfordshire with local medium Andy.
Thanks, Emma. I'm here as a guest medium to basically see what we can find in terms of paranormal activity, perhaps some psychic residual energy locked into the stonework here, and just let's see what we can find.
Fantastic. Andy's not been prepped on the history of this site, but for the benefit of you, the viewers, I'm going to give you a rundown on why this is reputedly haunted. Minsden Chapel is an isolated ruined chapel in the fields above the hamlet of Chapelfoot near Preston, Hertfordshire. Today it's a roofless shell, partly surrounded by a small wood and accessible only by footpath. It was built in the 14th century and by the 17th century had fallen into disrepair. Marriages continued here until the 18th century, until the crumbling masonry became too dangerous. In the 20th century, the chapel was closely associated with the historian Reginald Hine from nearby Hitchin. He frequently visited here and eventually obtained a lifetime lease of the building from the vicars of Hitchin. So fond of the chapel was he that he even bid trespassers and sacrilegious persons take warning, for I will proceed against them with the utmost rigour of the law, and after my death and burial I will endeavour in all ghostly ways to protect and haunt its hallowed walls. Contrary to popular belief, Hine is not buried at Minsden. His body was cremated at Golders Green, London, and his ashes were subsequently scattered at the chapel. His family erected a memorial stone at the site, which was subsequently relaid in its current grave-like horizontal position by them after it was damaged by vandals in the early 1980s. In 1907, T.W. Latchmore, a local professional photographer and friend of Hine, took a photograph of a ghostly monk at the chapel. Rumours of paranormal activity first appeared around this time. The haunting most frequently reported is that of a single monk climbing the stairs, which no longer exist, to the northeast area of the chapel. This is said to occur at midnight on Halloween. In an interview given in 1930 to a well-known contemporary writer on occult matters, Latchmore admitted that the photograph was indeed a hoax. Other reported experiences include the sighting of a glowing cross on the wall and the hearing of distant music or the ringing of the Stollen bells. Legends also exist of a lost tunnel and of a murdered nun. Despite the many reports, very little evidence exists to support the validity of any of these stories. So, Andy, you've had a chance to have a look around the site. Did you pick anything up?
For the most part, I would say peace. I will say I've done no background history on this place. The only thing I know about it is seeing it on the map, so I've not actually done any research. So I don't know what the ghosts or the spirits are actually in this place. But for the most part, I would say peace. Now, I don't know how old this place is, but I would say maybe about 14th century, something like that.
Okay.
I do get the feeling of monks actually. I don't feel it's spirit energy as such. I'm not picking that up yet. But certainly in terms of residual energy, I do get the feeling of monks and looking after this place and really having a period of contemplation and their interaction with nature and with their notion of God as well.
Okay, fantastic. So I can tell you it was built in the 14th century. So well done on that. It fell into disrepair by the 17th century, and it was used until the 18th century, until crumbling masonry, basically it was too dangerous at that point in time.
Okay. One thing I am actually picking up as we're talking, I'm getting images in my mind of roundheads and cavaliers.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what the connection is here. In my mind's eye, I'm getting a feeling of one side would have been hiding out here, and I get a feeling of being enclosed and a feeling of armies all around me attacking, and there's nowhere else to go. I think this might have been a hiding place either for the Cavaliers or for the Roundheads. I'm not sure which.
Okay, fantastic. That's interesting because I didn't find anything like that in my research, so that's a new finding.
A new angle,
yeah.
Yes. It's very difficult to prove this kind of thing because obviously if you pick something up that's not been researched, then there's no way to prove it. But then again, if it has been researched, people can always say, well, you've gone onto Google and just found that kind of history out. When I come to a location like this, I pick up what I pick up and I just say it, and if it's right, it's right, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. That's how I work.
It's interesting you made the point about the monk
Okay.
or monks, because there have been reports of people seeing a ghostly monk.
Okay.
There used to be a staircase here somewhere. I'm not quite sure where, but people would repeatedly see a monk
Interesting.
walking up the staircase on Halloween.
On Halloween.
On Halloween.
It's got to be
no
Halloween.
other day, Halloween.
It has to be Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few other things I'm picking up as I'm linking into this particular location. For some reason in my mind I was seeing like wooden wheels being created for kind of horses and carts. I don't know why I'm being shown that, but I presume at some point they would have had maybe some kind of like workshop, or maybe they did repairs in some way. Not quite sure why that is, but that's what I'm seeing. I'm also seeing in my mind's eye vegetable patches as well, which are no longer here obviously, but I feel they would have grown their own
Yeah, it's
produce.
pretty overgrown, isn't it, at the minute?
Yeah, I do feel very much a link with this place and a local farm in terms of either produce, sharing produce. Maybe this was where the local lord of the manor, if there is one, maybe came to have a bit of contemplation. Because I get a very much, the monks or the people here of a religious order were very much connected to their community. They weren't cut off, they didn't want to be completely isolated, and they wanted to share their passion for God and their way of life. And I also feel that this place, as I say, is a place of peace. I don't get any negativity, and if there are any spirits here and people seeing monks on Halloween and that kind of thing, I don't think it's of a negative nature actually.
Okay,
I think it's
so
quite a positive
they're
thing.
well-meaning.
I do think so, yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
One other thing I am being shown as well, I feel nearby might have been a local windmill. Now I think that's completely demolished now and not here at all. I don't know if there's any records going back, but very close to here. I get a smell and a feeling of flour, white flour, and I get a feeling of grinding stones and a windmill.
Okay.
So that'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I certainly don't think that's been registered either, so that's interesting, another thing that...
Okay, one more thing I do feel I'm getting, maybe a slightly more contemporary thing. I'm actually seeing what looks like a Spitfire or a plane, military plane, going down quite local to here as well. I feel possibly shot down, going down in flames, not at this very location, but certainly nearby in one of the fields. Getting that quite strong.
I can add something to that.
Okay, go for it.
That's what I dreamt last night.
Really?
Yeah, I dreamt about being in a Spitfire and the Spitfire going down.
You heard it here first, folks.
So there you go.
Wow,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. My feeling of where that is, I feel actually over in this area here actually.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting to find the history out and see if
see if that actually happened.
Yeah.
Because you said that and I dreamt it last night.
Yeah. And I can promise you folks, we did not confer beforehand.
Yeah, we did not.
We did not. So interesting.
Wow.
Very much, I do get a feeling of vegetable plots, like looking after vegetable plots. This is going back to the era of the monks, and they were very friendly actually. I don't know what order they were. They were of a speaking order. I don't think they were silent monks. I do get black cloaks and I do get white belts or ropes around their waists. So I'm not quite sure what that order, whether it's Jesuit or something similar to that. And I also get the feeling actually of a Catholic persuasion. I don't feel Protestant, I get a Catholic feeling in this. So I don't know what period in time that might be.
Might be well worth researching on the net now you've now you've proposed this really. So
I think so. I think so.
Now, I can tell you the only other things that I could find were reportedly sounds of bells or chimes in the air around Halloween, and also a glowing cross on the wall.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah,
So that might be that.
But nothing's none of this has any evidence to back it up. So nothing can be proven again. So.
This is the problem with paranormal evidence or anecdotes. It's very difficult to prove in a scientific way, because when it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you can repeat easily. Science and illusionists can replicate it, but for something actually genuinely paranormal, it either happens or it doesn't, and you can't really bring it into a cold laboratory and kind of try and reproduce it, which is why you have to rely on anecdotes and eyewitness testimony, and whether you believe them or not is up to each individual, I think.
So, Andy, how would you work typically?
There's different ways of working actually. You can use clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, and also clairaudience, which is clear hearing. So it might be a case of visualising things within the mind's eye, or if you're lucky you might actually hear words or hear phrases if you get spirit contact. There's also kind of knowing as well. You kind of just know things, like gut feelings I suppose you could call it, or intuition.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've definitely had gut feelings at this site myself before, and some other local, reputedly haunted sites. So, have you always known that you're a medium?
Yes, well, to begin with, in my early childhood, I actually kind of shunned it because there's a few freaky experiences which I didn't particularly enjoy, so I kind of shut it off, and then I opened it up around about 1999 and started getting into development circles and different psychic groups.
Fantastic. Okay, so the next question. What's the difference between a spirit and a ghost?
Spirit and a ghost. For me personally, I would say that a spirit would be an actual consciousness of a soul or a being that has an intelligence about it and will interact with you. Whereas a ghost, my personal opinion would be a ghost would be almost like a residual recording, something locked into time that when you go into a location might repeat itself and is unaware of you and just goes about its business.
Okay, that's mostly what I've commonly heard of.
Yeah, kind of a playback.
Yeah, but perhaps in one point in time experienced something like that myself.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, can anybody be a medium?
I believe so. For most people, I'd say training would be a better option. Some people are natural born mediums, some people have just got it, but you can train to do it. And there is actually a difference between a psychic and a medium as well. A medium would be somebody who interacts with spirit and can hear and listen and speak to spirit, whereas on a psychic level it's more to do with tapping into maybe information, almost like a spiritual Google in a way, and picking up information about a place as opposed to interacting with spirit.
Okay, I like spiritual Google.
Yeah, that's what I call it.
So that's going to be the new catchphrase.
A spiritual internet. Yeah, I'll copyright that one.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much, Andy, for coming out to the middle of nowhere. This is pretty desolate, and the middle of a set of fields, really, right in the sticks.
And we've been lucky with the weather as well. Actually, it's quite sunny.
It was tipping down earlier in the day.
It was rather wet.
We were quite worried, so yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Emma. It's been a pleasure.
Problem. Thank you very much. Thank you. You've been watching Frights and Delights with me, Dark Morte. Come back again for more of the weird and wonderful. I wanna kill you, kill you. I wanna kill you.